for most of my life, most of my childhood, teen years, young adult life, middle-aged adult life, older adult life, I've had a pretty good circle of friends, at least people that I considered friends or people that I would rely on in a friendship capacity. But, at my age, so 59 now, and looking back, there's different eras of friendship. So, when you're a child, of course, you have friends, you become teenagers. Some of those you continue to be friends with. Some, you begin to separate based on the schools you go to, things like that. Well, when I was a teenager, if you had a friend that moved cross country to a different school, and you might write a few letters, and then basically the friendship just dissolves because there was no social media, there was no email, there was nothing like that. So if you didn't write a letter or make a phone call, then that was it. And then, of course, you become teenagers, and then that kind of morphs into, depending on your path, if you go to college, if you have children, then, you meet friends in college, and you begin to meet friends that are the parents of your children. And that is what I did, and also through employment, once you're in your 20s. And very much that is what happened to me. The people that became my closest friends were people that I associated with via my children. So they went to the same schools, we were room mothers together, they shared activities that we would meet, softball, basketball, different clubs, things like that. And you become friends with those people. And so that kind of carries you through until your kids are out of school, right? And so they've graduated. For me, I had my first daughter very young. I was 21 when I had my oldest. And, so by the time I was, in my early 40s, my kids were basically reaching or had reached the end of their high school years and had gone on to college. So I faced an empty nest in a pretty young time for the average person, I think. But becoming a person on your own without the identity of your children is really a transitional period. So then your friendships are based purely on the people that you meet. For me, it was people that I worked with and maybe some neighbors. And the people that I worked with at several different jobs became people that I stayed in contact with and that I considered were my friends. So they were people that I would go to lunch with, or, by this time, email and social media was a thing. And so we began to follow each other, things like that. And here's where the transition for me happened. So once social media came around, these people that I was friends with, and some of them I would have thought we were ride or die. We were really great friends, but you realize that those people and those friendships were based more on circumstance rather than selection based on common interest. And I think that's where it becomes the problem for sustainability, because only those circumstances are holding you together with those other people. And that's what happened. And so once I was on my own, so to speak, with making new friends and didn't have that connection with the kids, then it was like people that I worked with. And I had a really eye-opening experience. I kind of always, my whole life, felt like, the people I worked with were my friends. I keep putting it in quotes, but that's just a way of saying that I don't feel like there was a deep relationship there. Were my friends, because we shared that common thing on a regular basis, right? The job. And then we got to know their families and our families and all of the things that encompass working with somebody every single day, that you get to know them. And I had someone, this is about 10, maybe a little over 10 years ago, and that was a woman that I worked with in the office, and she was describing to me how she had told her husband something that I had said or done, whatever it was, and she thought it was funny, and she had told him, but she described me as her coworker. And that was just really eye-opening, and it sounds silly, but coworker was what she thought of me, and I had considered her a friend. And I think it's not just terminology. It's really, I don't know what I'm saying about that, but it was eye-opening for me, because I realized that she considered me her coworker, and that is very different than a friend. And it started to change the way I looked at friendship. And then really so much changed with in relation to social media and seeing people's social media, which you never would have done before, right? So you would have met somebody, I'm just going back to like the 1990s or earlier, and you would have met somebody and you're didn't really know a lot about what was deep inside of them. You didn't know about their political beliefs. You didn't know about things that you didn't agree with, but because of social media, they shared it. And there it was for you to see. And you realize that, wow, we shared a common thing, which would be work or whatever it was prior to that, but we shared a thing, a situation, but we don't share the same heart. And that is really eye-opening, and social media has done that. And I think a lot of it stems, and this is not a political conversation here, but a lot of it stems from differences related to the current political climate. And to see people that I thought had a like mind with, to find out that their belief system and what they consider to be goodness was not goodness to me. I see prejudice, and I see racism, and I see a lack of care and concern for just human beings in general, and I found that very disturbing. So I made decisions based on that to kind of withdraw from those friendships. And I am going to pause for 1 second because there's someone walking by. Okay, so basically I started to withdraw from people that I had been friends with based on those things. And some of it was just so shocking to me that I realized how fundamentally we were different and our beliefs were. And I think that's part of the problem now with maintaining or keeping friendships, is that everyone is exposed, full tilt. You are just out there for everyone to see. And I think that has caused a lot of problems. Not only that, people feel that because they talk with somebody online, or even if it's, DMs and it's not just on public comments and things, that makes them a friend. And that's not the same thing as friendship. So what am I doing? In 2025, I found myself across country from people that I knew or considered friends previously in my life. And so when we moved out here, my kids are out here, and my grandkids, and I was working remotely. And in working remotely, you have meetups. If you're not familiar, you have meetups a couple times a year, and you meet those people and you talk to them every day on, Zoom calls and Google Meets, and so you see those people, and during the course of that time, there's free time, and you talk to them and chat with them, and you again consider them friends. But when I was laid off from my last position, I became glaringly aware that people that I thought were my friends were not truly friends. They were coworkers. And evidently I have a hard time accepting that realization. But they were coworkers. They were not true friends. I've heard nothing from them. And while we still follow each other on social media and maybe like a few things here and there of each other's, we have no contact other than that. So I have decided, while I'm generally pretty content with my life as is, because I really enjoy my own company, and I feel it's very, very important to really, really like yourself. Like, you have to like who you are. You have to like what your belief system is. You have to make peace with your past and any problems that you have. And then when you really like yourself, the right people will come and you will find your tribe. But here's the thing, maybe they aren't just going to come and show up. You have to make an effort to make them part of your life and to meet new people. And so I just did that yesterday for the first time, because I would like very much to meet and associate with people that are my own age. Maybe one day they'll become friends, in the true sense of the word. But I just would like associations with people that are, share the same history of the world that I do. They've been through the same timelines and, before internet, and we do just history and life in general. So I made the decision to join a walking group, and somebody had started a Facebook group, and it was local to my area, and I went to the first meetup yesterday, and there were, it was really a pretty good sized group, a couple hundred people, but 7 people came to this first meetup, and out of those 7 women, there's our ages are within 10 years. We're in that 10-year range of being, close in age, and they were all great. They were so nice and so down to earth, and we had a common interest of wanting to get out and walk and move and, meet new neighbors and new friends. And it even turned out that one of the ladies that I met there lives in the same condo unit that I live in. And this was a huge area that covered, I don't even know how big our area is, but it was much bigger than just my single unit, and she happened to be there. So I'm hoping that I'll meet some friends and some associates in that way. And I'll definitely keep you updated and let you know how that goes. But, if you don't have a lot of friends, kind of look at the situation and look at the friendships that you've had and what you would like a friendship to be. And, maybe once you've really accepted yourself and you love yourself, you'll really be a good person and a good friend to someone else. So, if you have the same situation, I'd love to hear how you're doing it. How do you manage things? Are you happy where you are? Because I am really happy with my life, but I would like to have someone to associate with, maybe go get a cup of coffee with, or go get something to eat with, or go for a walk is a good place to start. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you haven't yet, I'd love it if you subscribe and follow along. And I'd love to hear your story. I'd love to hear how you do it, how you make friends, what your friendships look like. So thanks for watching.